So the next part of the literacy ministry cycle is the teacher training workshop. And one of the things here that we often get questions on is how long should the teacher training workshop be? And how big can it be? How many people can we invite? And so there are many different answers, but what would you say?
Yeah. Once again, I'll use Ghana our practices. To answer this. We normally have maximum 30 per training, a teacher training workshop. Normally, 30. Because when we go around the churches and they bring their people, we tell them we want 30. So maybe each congregation or each denomination bring 2 people, etc., and then we'll make up the 30. The reason being that the 30 is a good number for supervision and for interaction and etc. I know Ted will talk about another place where they have huge numbers. And then period of training. Our experience in Ghana shows that 3 days is not enough. That's our experience. 3 days, you train them for 3 days. You go back to the class, and all kinds of things are happening in the class. So we have maximum 5 days, depending on the caliber of the people we are training, or 4 days. So between 4 days, 5 days, that is where that is how the length of the training that we have.
What would you say is the biggest factor of how fast people can catch on during the training?
Yes, because 3 days you teach them the steps, the 5 steps, even the introductory first. I mean, just the first 5 steps. Give them the first 5 steps. Teach them step 1. Second day when they come, you ask them to say the 5 steps and all kinds of things. You hear all kinds of things, and so we take our time, drum it in, because we tell them, even if you are asleep and you are dreaming that you are entering heaven, the door is widely open, and then the angel asks you, what are the 5 steps? You should be able to, just say the 5 steps.
That's serious.
You should be able to say, no, just make it in a funny way that you should learn the 5 steps at your fingertips, so that at any time you should be able to, know the 5 steps and then use them. And so that is that, just to drum it home. So we take our time and drum home the 5 steps to them. There's a song we learned from here about the 5 steps, and at our teacher training workshops we sing, and it's translated into the various languages. Whichever language we are working in, the 5 steps are translated in that language, and they sing it over and over and over and over. So then it sticks with them.
I think one of the things I've noticed in training in Latin America is if I'm training in a Bible school or Bible college, for instance, where people are in that environment of learning and academia, their minds are just used to going all day long and learning new things, and so they catch on very quickly. When we trained out in the village areas, where people had less of an educational background, then those trainings had to go a lot slower. In order to give people enough time to actually catch on. So I think that makes a big difference when you're planning how long your training is going to be.
We had to train almost 200 teachers May, just last May, and they are from the urban areas. Most of them are teachers.
Like
you know,
professional teachers?
Professional teachers. And some of them, I mean, quite a number of them to have finished university and minimum high school. And so it was easy. They could catch things faster. 4 days we are done. I mean, we were through with the training. There were large numbers, but because they were taking the course in the various languages, so we have the English language, and then we have the various local languages in that order. So, but like Ted said, you go to the rural area, and because somebody who has completed junior high school, in our system, sometimes people who complete junior high school, some of them cannot string 2-3 sentences together, some of them. And so that's the person in the village who is known as the best literate. And so he comes to the class, so that will take a longer time to teach, than in the urban areas where you have highly skilled people who are to teach. So it's just like Latin America. We also have the situation like that.
And in every training, you'll notice that you have people who catch on quickly,
Yes.
and others who catch on slowly. So I think you guys do something creative that I like, partnering
Yes.
weaker teachers with stronger ones.
Yes. So that's one thing we always advise the churches or the areas, the communities where they are coming from. At the end of the course, we know their strengths and weaknesses. So we tell them, please let partner these two people to handle one class, and don't split them. Because one is stronger, one is weaker, and the weaker person learns hands-on from the stronger person as they run the class. So that is it. Sometimes when we are doing the TTW, when they are sitting in pairs, sometimes we swap. When they are doing peer teaching, sometimes we swap. We'll put a weaker person by a stronger person, and then because one will do the teaching and the other will repeat. Will also teach. And so then the stronger one teaches first and gives the weaker one the opportunity to learn and be able to teach. We do that sometimes. Yeah.
Another thing that the book talks about when we explain teacher training workshops is that pastors are really key people. And we found that to be our experience when we taught classes in Nicaragua. We had one class where the pastor was very involved and very supportive. That class went great. We didn't lose hardly any students. The ones who started finished. We had another class not far from there where the pastor, he wasn't not supportive, but at the same time he wasn't very supportive. And so sometimes, for instance, when we would get to literacy class, as we were arriving, our students would be leaving. And said, "Where are you going? You're going the wrong way." Because we were coming down the hill to the church. They were coming up the hill. And they said, "Oh, we're exhausted. We've been an all-day prayer and fasting. And so we need to go home and eat something now." And so I talked to the pastor and said, "It's probably not a great idea to schedule literacy class right after all-day prayer and fasting, especially if the students are going to leave." And he said, "Oh, yes, sorry, but we always do it on this day, but we'll try to do better in the future." And then that kept happening. And students were dropping out. He wasn't really encouraging them. Whereas the other pastor was always motivating his people and saying, "You need to come to class every single week. Don't miss at all, because you need to learn to read the Word of God." So pastors are truly key people.
With the Church of Pentecost that we are running a project with in Ghana, we explained this situation to them, and so they agreed on the days for the classes with the learners. So they know the days when they have midweek services or whatever, and they steered away from those days. So it's making the class run very effective. Because, like he said, if you have an all-day prayer fasting time, and then in the evening the class is supposed to meet, you have a problem. One other thing too we have experienced in Ghana, in the northern part, is that you need a lot of patience for the classes. A lot of patience, in the sense that their farms are far away from their settlements. And so they go to the farms, they come, sometimes by 7 p.m. it's dark, and they find them with their bicycles. Their bicycle lights are gleaming in the dark, and they all come. They go home, they eat, they rest before they will come to sit down for the classes. And even that, the men will not come up front. They would hide in the dark, and the women and the children will come and sit down, because we meet under trees, etc. The women and children will come and sit down, and you will teach them. But the men are listening. So that is the timing, So sometimes I tell teachers when we are training that, look, a lot of sacrifice in this. The best time to teach your students is the best time for your students. Yeah, as Dr. Knighton put it in his book. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. It may not be the best time for the teacher.
No,
but
the best time for the students.